What's happening out there, everybody? How y'all doing? Hope everybody's doing well. Hopefully nobody's stuck with the coronavirus. I did have the coronavirus about a month ago. It was not very bad for me. Lasted about 4 days. Had a headache. Felt kind of crappy. No fever. But somebody was asking me what made me go get checked for it. And the answer is pretty simple. My wife said, "You don't feel good, go get tested for it." So I did. But anyways, we're going to talk about some gig stuff. Yeah, survival in the touring musician world. I have played just about every kind of venue that I think is possible to play. I've played arenas, I've played dive bars, I've played birthday parties, I've played pretty much everywhere. There are very few places I haven't played. But, so in all that time, the thing that I've come to realize is always have backups. I'm pretty serious about my backup stuff. When we travel, I carry backup pedal. I have a backup pedal board in case one goes down. If there's problems and I would rather not have to bend down and try and figure out what's wrong with the cable. I will have another pedal board brought out and plugged right back in. And it's not exactly the same. I don't have like doubles or triples of exact pedal boards. I do have several of the same pedals on some of them. But, there's a lot of guys that I've run into that hadn't quite figured that part out yet. So I figured I would talk a little bit about that. I always keep some sort of toolkit. This one is the Diodario one, but in case stuff breaks. But I have tons of extra stuff in here, from sandpaper, files, extra saddles, knobs, even extra nuts in case I need. If something goes down with one of my main guitars, I usually carry several guitars, also as backups. In case something like that goes down. But, it doesn't always have to be, like, for amps. I used to always carry 2 heads, and I still do carry a couple of amps when we're traveling on the road. But if I'm doing an in-town gig here in Nashville or something like that, I will usually carry an amp head, and I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but the Quilter micro block. It's a 45 watt pedal size amp, and it sounds killer for some sort of clean platform. And you can crank the gain and get some distortion to it, and it sounds all right. But I usually just use it master wide open, gain about halfway, as a clean platform so that I can run my pedals through it. But most people usually have strings and things like that in their gig boxes or whatever. But I think it's always good, especially if you're carrying tube amps, to keep fuses. I have backups of my backups for cables. Always carry extra cables. Batteries, those sort of things are always good to have. I even have in our big road box when we travel. I even have extra pickups in case something happens and something goes down. With that, I'm pretty OCD about making sure I've just been on two. Yeah, Denny Meyer says he's got two of the microblocks. I actually have two of them as well. Um, I have two of those, and then I also have, like I said, I have backups for my backups, even for my backups. If all else fails, I have on two of my pedal boards some of the Line 6 HX stuff, and they have, cab sim or amp sim, whatever you want to call it, stuff. If I had to go that way, then I could go. I could go that way. But I'm definitely, I'm definitely very thoughtful about what I'm going to take to a gig and what could go wrong, because I've definitely been in some spots where, uh, you know, you get on stage and you're getting ready to play, and all of a sudden you're getting no sound, and it's like you have, you know, no time to figure out what's going on. I almost always have a backup that's ready to plug in immediately. So if it's something, you know, I just kind of run through a checklist, and it's always good, even when you're on a cover gig. You don't want to have downtime for something being broken. So there's plenty of definitely plenty of hacks and things like that for keeping things smaller. You know, the micro blocks, the Line 6 HX Stomp pedal is really good. It's got some of the amp stuff you could run into that if you had to DI out. I usually carry several guitar when I'm playing in-town gigs here in Nashville, just down on Broadway or something like that. Even then, I carry 2 or 3 guitars, just because a lot of times, if you're the only guitar player and you break a string, there's not a whole lot of time to change strings in a lot of those kind of environments, especially downtown. It's pretty high energy. They want you to be rolling the entire time, and there's no breaks for most people down there. So yeah, so keeping up with that. Another thing that is always good is making sure that you have extra speaker cables. I just believe in having backups for my backups, just so that I don't run into those kind of issues. I mean, how many of y'all have ever been on a gig and, had a cable go down? Cables are fairly common for going down. But I've been on gigs where I can't get my speaker cabinet to work. You know, uh, I keep several speakers in our trailer when we're traveling for that purpose, in case we're doing 3 or 4 nights, in a row. And that way we can keep I can, swap speakers out and those sort of things. But anybody got any questions? Anything you want to ask about? Anything you're curious about? Also, these are Mojotone PAF clones in here, and they are amazing. So if you're looking for some PAFs, these are definitely killers. Another thing that's handy to have on gigs is this right here. It's Electro Harmonix makes it. There's a lot of places that you play that have noise, in the power, and this thing will just about cure it every single time. And they're not very expensive. They're $100 or so. I don't know. I think I got this one from a pedal shop here for like $90. It may have been used, I don't remember. But anyway, I have several of these. The Hum Debugger, Electro Harmonix. And you can, if you, on the strong setting, I notice a little bit that it does something to the tone, makes it a little bit weird. But it's not near as bad as a terrible humming mess. Some of the clubs downtown on Broadway are old power, and they just give you the loudest buzz with single coils. It's just the worst. So definitely something to get. This will keep your gigs clean and quiet. You know, it's definitely one of the best things I've found for that kind of stuff. Another thing that I like to keep around is extra tuners. Always have a tuner at your gig. That's a number one rule. You always need a tuner. If you're running out of room on your pedal board and you're like, I could put this other pedal or a tuner, always pick the tuner. Make sure that you have a tuner, always. Anybody got any questions? I mean, we can talk about anything. I'm just hanging out, having a good time. I just thought I'd touch on a couple subjects. I know some of the guys are giving lessons, and I've got a couple things planned out. I'm gonna talk about some slide and some chicken picking and some different things like that. But I thought I'd try and do a little, talking about gig survival and things like that. Also, this time off has been crazy on my fingers. We started back playing, and we did 4 nights in a row, and I thought my fingers were gonna fall off because we had not been playing, and the only playing I've been doing has been sitting in front of the computer doing some overdubs on this new record that I'm working on. And so I just not been putting in the time. I've not really had a lot of time for practice. I've got a new baby, and so all my time has been dedicated to mixing and finishing this record I'm getting ready to put out. Got a new song coming out Friday. So I spent my entire time doing that. So when I got back to the gigs, I was like, whoo, my fingers are killing me. Another thing that's cool with those micro blocks, now they are kind of expensive, and there may be some other things that go with them, but I've got a pedal board that's small that I use basically as an amp when I'm playing at a couple of places downtown, some of the smaller spots, and some micro block. The chain is a Kingsley Squire pedal, which is a 2 preamp kind of pedal, and it's a killer sounding pedal, and it's based on like a Dumble preamp. So it's that going into the well, let me go backwards. It's a Hum Debugger first, then it's the Squire, then it's the micro block, and it's a killer sounding, mostly solid state power section, I guess I should say, rig. Super impressed with that. So yeah, I love these freaking these PAFs. You can definitely get some good, a little bit of close to some chicken picking tones with these. Anybody got any questions? How's everybody doing? Y'all having a good time? Is everybody back to work or gigging or both? I'll show you a couple of these pedal boards that I'm carrying right now. Let's see, I got two of them in here, and then the Helix. So this is one of my smaller boards that we're using. There we go. Had the mic on. This is one of the smaller ones. And by small, it's not really that small at all, but it's got a lot of stuff on it. It does a lot. But this is the big one. Which is also not small at all. But it'll do a lot. But like I said, so if something was to happen with this pedal board here, if we're out on the road and something goes down and I'm not getting signal or I'm not getting sound, or it's just making noise or something, they would bring me out this one, and I have presets also set up on this. I've got the MIDI run through the HX effects, so that I can still do some of the same switching as this one. So it I've definitely had to do that a few times. I've definitely had to pull a pedal board before, and turns out the power supply had gone bad, and so like nothing was getting power like it was supposed to. It still looked like it was on, but I was getting no sound. And so, you know, I've also had amps go down before and had to run direct without any sort of like amp sim or one of those things going on, and that is not pleasurable at all, at least not for me. Guitar direct through your pedal board into a direct box. So that was that's been a long time ago, but when that happened, I was like, I'll never go to another gig again without having a backup amp of some sort, so that I don't have to go through that. And for the longest time, I just carried two heads everywhere all the time. Whether I had them in one of these two head cases over here, or I just carried two heads into the club that way. Just after that experience, it's not pleasurable. It doesn't make the gig any fun. And I'm like, if my tone's not sitting right, I don't play as good, and I don't have as good of a gig. So I was like, I will never let that happen again. So, like I said, for the longest time, I would carry two amps. And then when my buddy Eddie, that plays with us He actually does some of these live streams. Eddie Haddad. He was like, man, you should check out the micro block. And I was like, all right. So he brought it. Maybe he sent. I think we were in San Diego, and he sent it back with me to Nashville. And I took it home, played it a little bit, and I was like, this is nice. I took it to a gig, and it worked out great. And so I made a pedal board out of it, and I liked it so much that I bought another one just to have as, a backup that I keep in my box just in case I need something fast. So if you're traveling and you're a gigging, a gigging guitar player, or you could be a drummer or a bass player, just like getting ready to be on stage and something going wrong and not having a backup for it is probably one of the worst feelings. Something going wrong and not being able to figure it out right away, or not being able to have something to swap it out and make things happen right away is rough. It's rough on everybody. The clubs don't like it because there's dead time, and you don't like it because you're not playing, and it's always good to have backups. Does anybody got anything they want to ask or talk about? Hell, we can talk about anything. I got the live for as long as I want it. And we can talk about gear. We can talk about pedals. We can talk about amps. Whatever y'all want to talk about. If you guys are looking for something to watch on badass guitar players, Tom Bukovac has been doing videos on YouTube. And if you don't know who Tom Bukovac is, just get on YouTube and watch some of his videos. He's an amazing guitar player, and he's a session guy here in Nashville, and he's been playing on records for forever. But he's doing like lessons and things like that. And holy crap, that guy's good. Well, I'm glad to be hanging out with you guys. I appreciate Mojotone for asking me to get on here and run my mouth. I hope everybody's doing good out there. Like I said, if you got any questions or anything you want to know about, we can talk about it. Just any gear related questions. I've got plenty of gear, that's for sure. The train wreck, yeah. I bought that from a friend of mine, and it was built after Ken Fisher died, but it was all Ken Fisher parts. And it came from what I understand, it all came from his shop, and it's legit. I've played it with a couple. Another friend of mine has a Liverpool that's one of the early ones that Ken Fisher built, and it's bad to the bone. And we shot him out, and he agreed. He thought that it was definitely up there. It's a killer amp. It's a beautiful amp. It's the box is pretty freaking amazing. And I know a bunch of the most all the train wrecks have the those boxes like that. But yeah, so I bought it. When did I buy that? I got it either the end of last year or right at the first of this year, and it's been a killer. It's been a killer freaking amp. People are always asking me about gear and stuff like that. Do I take out that kind of stuff like that old Marshall and some of those old Fenders I've got and the old High Watt and the train wreck, and I take out everything. I don't keep any of it. Just sitting here for looks. I'll if I bought it and if I paid for it, I'm taking it out. I'll play it. The pickups are the Mojotone, the PAFs, and they're amazing. I've got them in several guitars. I love all the Mojotone pickups. I've got almost all my Tellys I think have Mojotone pickups in them. My Les Paul Special has I've got two specials. I've got a one that's got the Quiet Cold P90s, and then I have a special that has two mini humbuckers in it. And yeah, killer. It's a killer guitar. I'll pull it out real quick. I like I love mini humbuckers because they kind of remind me of single coils, or they're a little more single coil ish, I guess I should say. And I actually modified this one because I like the longer Bigsby. I think it looks cooler, and so I just stuck it on here. It's what I had anyways, and I I stuck a knob in between the end pin and the body to make it fit like I want it to. But I love a Bigsby, and I don't like the shorter ones as much. I think the longer ones look cooler, even if it is hanging over. Just drop some Mojos in a G&L. Yeah, I actually have I've got a Mojotone in this G&L in the bridge. It's got a Mojotone in the bridge. One of the Quiet Coil 52s, maybe, or maybe it's a Broadcaster. I can't remember. But it's a it's a cool guitar. I love those G&Ls. But yeah, so that's some of the gear that's here at the house. We've got some more stuff in the trailer. I'm I'm a gear fanatic. I'm always searching and trying to find more gear, and Craigslisting and reverbing and everything else. And uh, I tell you, when we're out on the road, though, what I've been using, and I'm gonna do a video. We're gonna do a live and talk all about the Hatteras coming up, and that right there has been what I've been taking on the road. And I have another head that I run with it so that I can run some stereo stuff, and then of course I have a backup. So, but the Hatteras is just freaking amazing. The clean tones are killer, and the distortion channel is freaking badass. It sounds so good. But we're gonna dive into that on another day. I've got a few ideas for some stuff I'll show you. I might even have Eddie come over here and jam with me a little bit, and we'll do a little picking. And yeah, so hope everybody has gotten something useful out of this, whether it be the Humdy bugger or the microblock. If you buy a microblock, it comes with a deck of cards. So there you go. You don't just, it's only, I mean, those microblocks are not very expensive. They're only about $100 or so. I can't remember what I paid for them, but 100% worth it. Like I said, it's quick and easy. It's got, you just plug right into it. It runs right out to the speaker jack. You can plug it into whatever cab you're running, and it'll run 4, 8, or 16 ohms. I think it'll even do 2. But totally worth it. I appreciate you guys hanging out. If anybody's got any more questions, want to know about any more gear, or questions about stuff going down on the road, like what would I do if whatever happened, I'll be glad to answer it. Well, I appreciate you guys hanging out. I hope y'all got something out of this, and I will see y'all around. I want to thank Mojotone again for having me on here to talk about stuff and hang out and share with you guys. And y'all stay safe out there, and hopefully everybody's doing well. And I will see y'all next time.